Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. It is great to see you this morning. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Let me clean these glasses off. Good to see you. This is my last day before I leave for a trip. So just remember, I won't be doing regular scheduled shows for the next couple of weeks, but I will be live here and there, right? I'm hoping to be live at the White Cat in Katuitt, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. I'm going to write to Claire Murray. I'm going to write to Claire Murray's assistant again because I completely dropped the ball on that. She had a bunch of travel, and then I was doing a bunch of stuff, and we didn't link up. But I'm going to write to her and see because she used to have like a hook along at the Claire Murray store it's on Route 6A. I think it's probably Barnstable. Is it Barnstable? I think it's probably Barnstable. It might be Yarmouth. But anyway, I'm going to see if they still do that on Fridays. If I can horn in and visit, playing with some paper. That's noisy. Let me stop doing that. Man, it's hard to get together for a trip, right? I'm wrapping up all my yarns and stuff like that because I'm thinking, what do I want to work on? I can't fill the car with just my stuff, right? Because the kids are space pigs. And Joss asked for her Cape Cod box. She asked for a food dehydrator. And I got it along with the Cape Cod box and all. It's like a tradition of ours that they get this secret box of things that they've been wanting since Christmas. And I put them all in the box, and I put the box, seal it up, and then they open it as soon as we arrive, and it gives adults time to unpack the car, and they're very busy and happy with their stuff, and it's such a tradition now. My parents used to do it for me when I was young, make the CCB, right? We're so familiar with it. It's actually better than Christmas. It's a ton of gifts because our vacation lasts. I mean, we love Christmas, but the vacation lasts for 2.5 weeks, so kids are all fired up. CCB, and she asked for this stupid food dehydrator, and this thing is massive. When it came, I didn't look at the specs of it on Amazon, and it is massive, but apparently she's not doing something healthy with it as one would hope, although I am going to dehydrate some foods and see what they taste like. She's been watching videos on dehydrating candy, right? So just changing the form of candy. But I thought, well, she's so into it, and she's so into baking, and I'm sure we're going to do a lot of baking while we're there too. But I thought, why not? We can use it for other stuff too, right? It could be fun. Who knows? We might tap into sort of a new recipe book, dehydrating candy. I'm not going to write that book, I promise. That is not a good use of time. But man, it's hard to get my head into stuff. I'm going to show you some of the projects that I'm bringing, when I get there. I'm going to bring the bee, right? And Patreon members, always a huge thank you for your support. I'm going to send you a couple of patterns this month, at least a couple, because I won't be doing as many shows, and I know part of what you support me for as a brand is doing this channel, and I will be on vacation. So I want to do some other stuff to make up for that. I also want to work on our Patreon challenges because I'm about to give you challenge number 2. I never finished challenge number 1, which was the recipe challenge. So maybe that's one of the things I'll work on while I'm on the Cape with the mini punch. I'm also working on this design. I'll show you when I get started. I have it in the other room on fiber tape. Just deciding what backing to put it on because I'm perfectly fine with burlap, and I just like to save the expensive supplies for your orders. But I'm thinking about it because it is a large piece. It's not going to go on the floor. I'll have to think about it. As I don't mind burlap, and it's not like cheap burlap. It's just regular like decorator type stuff, but not the Joanne stuff. It's a little bit nicer than that. But anyway, it's not Scottish burlap either. I don't know what you would call it. But anyway, it's a great pattern of a basket because my friend Linda Ann, are you on today, Linda Ann? Does willow gathering. And it got me thinking one night when I made the little sketch in the diary about creating a pattern of a gathering basket with willow in it. And then I ended up putting flowers in it with faces on the flowers. So that's my big hooking project for when I get there. And it's not for any book project or anything else. It's just for fun because I have not done projects for fun in a really long time. And I got to thinking, remember I showed you this at the end of coffee time the other day, working on this for the class, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight, the Designing Like the Fairy Tale storybook. One of the fairy tales is The Three Bears. I broke this out because it's always fun to look at this, right? Let me get the chair out of the way. I know you've seen this before, but it's just such a killer. I'm going to have this framed. The Garrett Blue Nose Three Bears, right? I mean, I'm never going to make that. I might make a variety of it, but yeah, this is going to be framed. I have to frame that with because the color is so good on it, They did such nice printing. I guess this is watercoloring, right? Because we saw that in the Garrett Blue Nose book. I forget the name of the person. Remember the woman who I was going down the rabbit hole looking at all of her stuff like a stalker because she was hand coloring the Garrett Blue Noses, and man, they were good. They were so good. Um, so I was thinking about bringing this to work on because I like the three bears, but remember I was loving the idea of doing the graduated chairs. I don't like the graduated beds, but the graduated chairs. I thought, what if I did the three bears standing in like the open doorway, like, uh-oh, someone's been in the house and they're about to do the shtick with the someone's been eating my porridge, someone's been sitting in my chair. Well, it's obvious someone's been sitting in the chair because it's like broken to splinters, right? So I would have the same look on my face as the bears, like, ooh. But I was thinking about using that whole motif and then just using the three graduated chairs as a frame, because it's a frame that would kind of scallop itself, right, because of the height difference. I'll have to see if that could work, because that could be very clever. I'm not saying that I'm clever. I'm just saying it could be a clever effect, you know. So I'm thinking about that, and I'm really looking forward to, I don't know if that's going to work now that I look at it. That's a toughie. That's a toughie McFluffy, because I love it as a pattern. I'm going to keep thinking on that. It's driving me nuts, those chairs. Hope you're signed up for that, because it's going to be a great class tonight. My main sources that I'm pulling from for that class are the Three Bears is not in this Reader's Digest fairy tale book. Do you remember these books? These are like on a lot of bookshelves of summer cottages and stuff like that, because the Reader's Digest collections, right, they were so big for so long, and they're illustrated, and it's just got a beautiful cover too. And there's more than easily more than 100 fairy tales in here. Ones that I've never heard of either, but the other four that we're doing besides the Three Bears are all happen to be in this book, because this is pretty comprehensive. That's why I was really surprised that Goldie, because it's sometimes Goldilocks, right? But it's not. It's just not in this book. But there's all different ones that are really unusual. I've been really doing a lot of ordering, looking, rabbit hole stuff with fairy tales, because I'm just loving this conversation. Danny, if you're watching, thank you so much for the email you sent about Beatrix Potter. I really appreciated that. That was a really interesting article, and I just didn't write back because I was out of time and I was between stuff, but I really appreciated it. This is another source I've been pulling from that I'll pull out this afternoon for the design leg. It's a Walter Crane, right? So I found this at an antique store for $10. I don't know what it's worth on eBay or anything. Walter Crane is one of my favorites. But just in terms, so it's one of these things, right? It has like a cloth spine. It's one of these things where back in the day, let me see what year this was. If someone was a famous illustrator, obviously copyright worked differently then. Very differently until the 70s, right? It was really a moving target, and there wasn't much accounting for yourself if you took a story from someone else, right? It was just, and it was often considered, at least with fairy tales, helpful. Like in the case of the Three Bears, that was a story that was told. It was part of the oral tradition. It was not written down until, it's an English fairy tale, until like I want to say 1936, something like that. But people knew the story before. And I'm sorry, 18. But when it was written down, there had already been a handmade version of it by this young woman. We're going to cover this in the class tonight. And she'd done a watercolor version for her nephew, Horace, right, for his birthday. So it was clear that the story was already out there, but until it was collected in print, like in formal print, not somebody's watercolor journal that's a birthday gift, but covered in print, then the person who covered it was credited with was John something, credited with like coming up with the story. But people who already knew the story were like, of course he didn't come up with the story. This has been like one of our national storytelling stories for years, maybe centuries at that point. But then it was really helpful because after that, it was helpful money-wise, because after that, a few other people wrote their version of the Three Bears. And this happens with a lot of fairy tales. And then the people who formerly wrote it or recorded it in anthologies were like, thank you for bringing it to people's attentions, because now the story is popular. Now my stuff will sell better too, right? People are interested, so now my sales are going to go up too. So copyright was completely different then. And as soon as you shone a light on something that you thought was special or valuable, people who had a stake in it, even the original authors, would be often, not every time, right, but often, it depends on how close the version is, a huge thank you, right, for bringing this to light, for making this work known. It's very different then. And incredibly, this book does not have a year on it. I'm going to guess that it's 1890s to 1910s just because of his lifeline. But books like this are so priceless. The little end papers like this is all Walter Crane. Beautiful all over pattern. And the back is printed too. It's called Baby's Bouquet. This is a British publication. The papers are a little bit thin. When you get into it, it's much thicker again. But you get stuff like this that I'll show in the class, quite a bit of this. Everything is decorated so highly. It's incredible inspiration. It's all printed in color. And yeah, just very high end. Well, it's monochrome, but different from page to page. And it's got this particular book has a collection of songs in it, some that I completely recognize, and others like Luby Light, and some that are hot cross buns. Obviously, we know that. The Little Woman, we don't know that. A lot of fiddle-dee-diddly-dee. The Little Disaster is one of them. The Old Woman Tossed Up a Blanket, The Old Woman of Norwich. Maybe these are more British traditional songs. Buy a Broom. I mean, it's just so fun. I'm curious. I'd like to pick these songs out, keep note by note, and get a feel for whether the Little Man and Maid, Fairy Ship. That sounds pretty. If all the world were paper, interesting, and all the sea were ink, and all the trees were bread and cheese, what should we do for drink? Okay, I see where that's going. That's really cute, though. The Scarecrow, the Carrion Crow, just interesting. So it's fun being able to pick up books like this for $10. $10 is a great price for this because it's so highly illustrated, so colorful. Lucy Lockett, The Jolly Tester. Wow, this is really fun. But yeah, I mean, these illustrations are also copyright free. That's where I was going with that because of the age, right? Walter Crane is copyright free. So, oh, the North Wind and the Robin, right? Stuff like that. So pretty. What a pretty thing to hook, right? And again, copyright free. Little Robin is sitting on the ground there. Really sweet. So anyway, that class is coming up tonight. I got to stop. I can't stop. I'm going to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to have a lot of fun with that. The class is going to run over for sure. So if you need to clip it, and I do need to pack for the trip. I haven't even started yet, but I know it's going to run over because I have so many thoughts and exercises, and I know we're going to brainstorm and snowball together, and that is the fun, isn't it? Ryan, did you get my message that I didn't get an email from you? The last email were the two that were in the gallery show. So I just wanted to check with you on that. One other thing I want to share with you before I finish the content for today. Ooh, Mrs. Canfield. Oh my, holy mackerel. Wait a minute. I just got excited. Are you kidding me? Okay, something exciting just happened. My skin is crawling like crazy. I was just going to give you another idea. I'm not going to do this on vacation, but this is a to be continued because when I come home, we're going to do it. And then I'll tell you what just stopped my heart, literally. I found this book at an antique store a while back. It's called Dies and Dying, right? It's a pretty little book, white buckram cover. There's a big gap right here. And you know what I'm going to do? I was looking and waiting for a book that the title spoke to me. Dies and Dying. Title definitely speaks to me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to razor out a little square in the front cover. I wouldn't do it if it had a picture cover, obviously. And I'm going to hook something custom that fits right behind it. And it's going to have to do with Dies and Dying. So I haven't thought about the design yet, but maybe, I don't know. I'll think about it. But I've been looking for books like this. I have a couple more that have like a typed or, title on the front cover that evokes something in my imagination, but then a gap, right? Because I don't want to, I can't handle crafting with books, right? Because this to me is like sacrilege. But this is dead space. So I'm going to cut this out and I'm going to put maybe a mini punch thing, set it right into the cover there, I didn't realize, and it doesn't ruin the book at all. There's just a hole in the cover and it's just decorated. And then I'm going to put it on the bookshelf like this with that little bit showing, or maybe on the mantle. And I thought, what a fun thing. You should look at your books or look at a bookstore because often these books are like $1. They're not interesting for people. They're dated. They're super outdated, many of them. This one is going to be fun for us to look at when I have more time. It talks about color, the evolution of colors. And like the Victoria Finlay recently wrote a book called Color, maybe 10 years ago. Excellent. This is a much older form of the same subject. But what got me so excited, stuff like this falling out of the book. This is from Switzerland, a tag from a garment. what got me so excited was that I opened the cover. There's still more stuff coming out of the cover. Oh, it's an advertisement for the book. 1947, Eric, January 1947. The book was $2.50 when it came out. How cute is that? That was definitely taken from a newspaper. I opened the front cover and I saw this, Mrs. Canfield, Woodstock, Vermont. And I'm going to have to check because one of my favorite authors of all time is Dorothy Canfield, and she was from Vermont. I don't think she was from Woodstock, but she was from Vermont. Mrs. Canfield. I'm going to have to see how. Isn't that exciting? My heart just went ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. If I was holding something that Dorothy Canfield held, oh my word. All right, let's do this. We are at gallery night. We are concluding, and I love, normally if I weren't going away, we would be looking at gallery night entries. And when I say entries, if you send me something, I'm showing it and we're celebrating it, right? So it's not about entering or being juried or anything like that. If it's not in the show like Ryan did, please let me know because it means that I missed it or I accidentally opened it when I turned the computer on and Jane didn't see that it was marked or I put it in the wrong folder. There's all kinds of human error that can happen when you boob it up the way that I do on a regular basis. So always let me know. And let me first say, Anita, good morning. Lovely day there in London, Ontario. Nice when the sun is shining. Absolutely. Kirsten, happy Wednesday in Vermont. Good to see you. Melissa, good to see you and looking forward to later. Loving that Velvet Kitty photo of Kirsten's. I used that one for the thumbnail today. That is one of the great pieces of all time. And that, Kirsten, is that up yet in the store, the Be and Me? A lot of Kirsten's work is in the Ribbon Candy Hooking store under her tab. So make sure that you check that out because all of her designs are crazy, crazy good. And as far as designs and orders go, I'm going to be away for about 2.5 weeks, almost 2.5 weeks. So if you order something, I will fill the orders as soon as I get back in the order that they came in. Of course, if it's like yardage or a hook or something like that, I'll send those out first, just bang those out in one morning. And then the larger orders and kits, I'll put together in the order that they arrive. And I will certainly send your order out within a week of returning. I absolutely will, no matter what it is. Because I'm going to be just nose to the grindstone at that point to catch up with everything. So feel free to be ordering stuff. Just know I'll be away for a little while, and I have not forgotten, and I will not be lazy when I get back. And I appreciate the orders. Linda B., sunshiny day in Northwest New Jersey. I am feeling better. Thank you. I am. I had a rough night the other night when we did the live hook-in. I was feeling so dizzy all of a sudden and nauseous. And I couldn't attribute it to allergies. I felt awful. I always think I must be dying, right, when stuff like that happens. It's my go-to thought. I must be dying. The doctors didn't catch it. I told you I was sick, that kind of thing. But then I felt better the next day after I got some sleep. I think I was just overextended and overtired again. Thank you for asking. Much better. Sandra, great to see you. Good afternoon in Richmond Hill, Georgia. And April, the weather in North Georgia mountains is gorgeous today. Oh, that's exciting. That sounds beautiful. April Bloom in Illinois. Good morning, Robin. Good morning. Robin, I'm making a whole episode out of the pictures that you sent, so don't think I forgot. If I can do it from the Cape, I definitely will because I already have it ready in a little file here on our Streamlabs. So thank you so much for that. That's going to be a fun episode. Karen, great to see you. Good morning in Black Forest, Colorado. Great to see you. And Ryan, happy Wednesday from lovely North Texas. Peace and love to all. Jane, my love, you are on in Wales. Hello, lovely ruggers. Hope everyone is good today. I hope so too. Marilyn, hi, good to see you. And Dave, hello. Waiting for the coffee to drip, drip, drip. While my mouth was running, you probably got a cup out of that, right? Carol P., another Wisconsinite here, dehydrator, fun. And we're going to return to the photos that Carol sent of the Wisconsin shows. Baby the dog coming in. Come on, honey. Baby the dog arrives. You want to come up and say hi? No, she wants to sniff and see if I dropped any food, as if I'm just like snacking on the carpet. I'm going to share the rest of those photos ASAP as well, because we didn't even scratch the surface of the Cream City Rug Show. And there she is. Can you see that cute face? Can you see that cute face? She's sniffing because I was eating pasta. And I guess she picked up on that great smell, pasta with butter and black olives, right? Class. Kathy, great to see you. Good afternoon from New Hampshire. Great to see you. Thank you so much. I just can't wait. I know I'm going to go live quite a few times because I have lots of little things planned. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, right? The Ribbon Candy Hooking channel, because you will be notified. And I will send a message in the morning if my plan is to go to Claire Murray or to go to the White Cat or to do something rug hooking related, or if we're headed out to a flea market or something and I see a lot of great rugs, I will go live and you'll get a notification if I do, because you might want to see what I'm finding. And if it's stuff that I'm finding in stores, I typically don't buy it unless I, absolutely can't live without it. And I can live without most things at this point. So I'll always tell you where I am, because I know in a lot of these cases somebody who's watching calls and has it shipped, and stores are always happy to do that. So I'll take you with me, because I do a lot of shopping. I do a lot of looking, and I'll let you know what I'm finding in case it's something that you've been looking for or something that you can't live without, right? So make sure that you have that you've subscribed so you get all those notifications. Yum, homemade red. Oh, Karen, what are you doing? We love to dehydrate red grapes and make raisins. Oh, that's a great idea. That sounds way healthier. They're delicious. We also make beef jerky, which also is very. I was thinking about that. Not so much for the kids, maybe for Teddy, but I love beef jerky. And that sounds really fun. I'm going to try the grapes. Has anybody tried those cotton candy grapes? Do you have those at your supermarket? They really taste like cotton candy. It's uncanny. It's so strong, the cotton candy. It's like a wave. They must be super high sugar grapes, but they're real grapes. It's a variety. And they're one of the grapes that the kids really love. I bet dehydrating the cotton candy grapes would be absolutely like eating candy. I don't know anything about nutritional value. When you dehydrate something, does it take the nutrition and the vitamins out of the thing, or does it just take the water out of the thing? That would also kind of dictate what I personally wanted to dehydrate. Hello from chilly Vancouver. Oh, is it chilly, Sharon? Oh no, Judy, great to see you. You could have fun with the illustrations in Carl Sandburg's rutabaga stories. Ooh, interesting. I'm guessing that they're root vegetables, right? I wonder what year that is. Because right now, copyright, at least in the US, is everything 1923 and before is, for the most part, copyright free. Everything after, not so much. Interesting, rutabaga stories. I see like yams, anthropomorphic yams and potatoes and things like that. Maybe I'm making the wrong assumption. Lisa, great to see you. Oh, the book, right? That's a fun idea. I think that's something we could all have fun with. Simple idea too. How do I frame my small pieces? That's a great way to frame it. And if you have like a favorite book, like a lot of reprints of like Jane Austen and Moby Dick and stuff, look like this, and they don't have a picture on the cover, just the title. And if it's a book that you really love, how fun if you went on a tear just making small like mini punch or small hooked pieces for your favorite books. And then you could get, what you could do? You could get one of those plate racks, plate racks that like nobody uses anymore, and they're in antique stores and vintage stores for like $5. They're for holding plates, but you could stack your books in them like that, right? So you could see the covers and stuff and have them not fall forward. Or one of those just a shelf, right? And just stack them along the shelf. It'd be a great way to do a little sort of gallery thing with some of your work and combining it with some of your favorite books. No veggies, just Strange Children. Okay, I'm very familiar with Strange Children. I'm gonna have to check that out. Oh, fun. I'll keep an eye on the thread because I like to see what y'all are chatting about. But I want to get to gallery night before we get too far into the episode. Oh, Goretti, we ended on this, right? Mike had finished this. Let me get to the right. Yep, Mike had done Gemma, the Golden Doodle. This is the last image that we looked at on Monday when we were looking at our gallery sequence. And this is Mike's second piece. And the first piece was a portrait piece of a human portrait. And it was absolutely over the top. Mike is tearing it up in the most extraordinary way. It's a huge to be continued. I'm waiting for your book to come out over there, Goretti and Mike over there, doing exquisite punch needle work and using the working side as the correct side, which is always exciting. This is another exciting punch project. I'm loving seeing more and more abstract punch and combinations, right? So I want to look at this in detail. This popped up. This is from Christina Ryan. This popped up on our Facebook group, which is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club. And she said, this is her latest piece. She usually posts her pieces as she finishes them. I forget where Christine is from. She's using centimeters, so it's not going to be the US. But it's 40 centimeters by 50 centimeters. And I want to stretch this open so we can start talking about it. There's a lot going on here. It has a very kind of Charlie Harper, kind of mid-century, a little bit of a Hanna-Barbera. It's very shape-driven. It's very fun. It's very soft. It has a mid-century feel to it. with the inclusion of more contemporary colors, like a more contemporary color palette. We do have the browns and the rust, but we're also seeing like turquoise, coral, like it's a bright sunshine yellow, a couple of shades of rose, right? Very unusual. Great abstract piece, isn't it, April? It really is. Judy says, "Hi everyone, I'm Lady." That's okay. It's a beautiful sunny day in the UK. I'm just lacing the back of my punch needle to finish. Thanks to everyone for inspiring me to finish. Good for you. Can't wait to see it going into the next gallery night, right? I hope so. I can't wait. I'm very inspired by you, Judy. Okay, so we can check out Christina's work at Chris Ryan Art as well. But let's look at this because she is using not monk's cloth as a backing. So this is a different woven. You know, you can punch into anything. This question comes up a lot. Do you have to punch into one of the traditional rug hooking backings? No, you absolutely don't. You have to punch into a woven, right? Because when you punch, just in terms of common sense, the tip has to go through something, not break through threads, but the threads need to open up, right, to make a big enough hole to punch through. So you need a woven. And woven meaning it has a warp and a weft, right? It goes in two different directions, and there are, no matter how tightly it's woven, there are spaces in between, and the needle will find its way into those spaces. Rarely and catastrophically does it go right in the middle of a thread and break it. That hardly ever happens. But for me, it happens more with monk's cloth because each strand of monk's cloth is made up of individual strands. That's why I'm not a huge fan of punching into monk's cloth. Many people are, right? If that's just for me, way more of a fan of punching into rugwarp. But I've punched into other stuff too. I've punched into sweater material, right? Absolutely punched into sweater material. Like sweater, right? This is the thing from Christmas. But actual sweater material, right? Whether it's ribbed or not, if you stretch this over a frame or put it in a hoop, you can punch into this, right? Depending on the knit. This kind of stuff, right? This kind of sweater material. Let me see if I can see this one here. Just a typical, it's not ribbed. It's, I don't know what you call that in machine knitting terms. Fair aisles, you can punch into fair aisles. You can just put it over your frame and punch with your punch needle. You can also hook into it. It'll often work. It depends. The thing that needs to happen is when you punch, the material has to close when the punch needle comes out and leave that loop securely in there. And not just leave that loop securely in there, be punching loops at a reliable height, right? So they're all staying in there. Doesn't have to be all the same height. I love it when it's not all the same height. I love it when there's variety. But it can't be like one is way down low, ready to fall out, and the others are coming out really high. That would mean it's not working. And that would mean that the backing is wrong, right? Or that the materials that you're attempting to punch into it is wrong. But when you think about punching and you're thinking, I would like to do an abstract piece, Sharon says, loving the abstract. This is what I aspire to. It's just a question of finding material, right? You can use one of the traditional ones, but if you want the backing to show, like with Chris's work here, it's worth spending a little time, maybe first looking around at what you already have, right? So it can't be like quilt fabric, that kind of stuff. It's got to be a woven. Look for things that are woven, that are tight enough to hold a loop, right? This is something that you will figure out with experience, but not so tight that the loop won't go through. You're going to make a hole as you punch. It sounds fiddly. It is fiddly. You're straddling this weird sort of trapeze, but when you get used to finding the right fabrics, dish towels, stuff you find at flea markets, clothing, just attempt to punch into it. And if it's working, that's your material. And it's often got a beautiful background color, something that you would like to display anyway. Imagine finding a garment that you could easily punch into, right? A nice summer material, something linen, something cotton, but a woven. That could work absolutely beautifully. With monk's cloth, you often have it gridded, and even when it's not gridded, sometimes you can see the gridding on it. So depending on what you want to do and what your end game is, be thinking about looking for fabrics to punch, and always consider the worsted weight needle. I only sell the worsted. I punch with Amy Oxford's regular, the larger one, but I stock the smaller one because it's the one that I use most, and it's one that I kit with beginner stuff. And that has a much smaller tip, and that can go into a much tighter woven backing, right? So what can you do? Sharon says bleached linen would make the colors pop. Absolutely. Bleached linen would make the colors pop. with any natural fiber as well. Of course, you can also dye it. You can model it. You can tie dye it. It won't come out like a linen or a cotton fabric. I don't mean jersey. Won't come out super well tie dyed, right? Just because the material is a little bit more stiff and rigid, has more structure. But you can certainly hand dye backings to materials or hand paint backings to materials. Imagine having a nice white linen and dragging one of those beautiful flat wide paintbrushes, almost like, the Japanese or Chinese paintbrush, the real flat ones they used to do brushwork and stuff, but dragging a nice flat brush across with just dragging a little bit of dye on it, maybe doing kind of ombre stripes from thinking of like the kind of cranberry or what's it called, the aubergine wedgwood is that funny purple color, Imagine dragging on your backing fabric, like maybe starting at the bottom with really dark, wide brush, like a wash of like an aubergine, and then a little bit more watered down, a little bit whiter, a little bit lighter, all the way to the top. You would have such a beautiful ombre backing. You could introduce other colors, and then you could do your work on top of it. So you would be combining two textile fabric techniques, right? Painting on fabric and hooking, punching, doing needlework on fabric. That's one of the things that Chris is doing in this piece too. This is stuff to think about because there's also tons of books during yard sale season, right? Decorating surface decoration of fabrics and stuff online as well. But all kinds of ideas for decorating the surface, because then that's your canvas and that's part of your composition at that point too. So Chris is not just punching. Let me make this even bigger. Hang on. You can see she's doing stuff with needles too, because what is backing fabric? It's fabric. You can do anything you want with a needle on fabric. Fabric and needle go together. They're a match made in heaven. So I can see, let's start in the northwest corner. That looks like punching, right? And below it, it looks like maybe a colored background. It looks like a little more tan. Yeah, I think she's maybe painting on this as well. Don't you think? I think she might be painting directly on it, painting the shapes and then popping the edges. Ooh, Judy, Rutabaga Stories, published 1922. Those would be copyright free. That's a fantastic idea. I got to remember that. Sharon, you love the fine tip. So the Oxford fine tip is called the fine or worsted weight, and the larger one is called the regular. There's only two sizes of punch needle, remember. Everything else is the height, and that can be controlled with the O-rings that are also called rubber washers, right? And what did the other Ryan call them? He called them something, rubber fender or something like that you can put right over the needle. So going from northeast, it looks to me like some of these backgrounds are painted, like the mustard one, and then there are some stitches, right? It could be punched from the front, right? But it's more, it doesn't make any sense really to do that. You could do this with a needle very quickly. The yellow horizontal stitches, the vertical yellow stitches underneath, it looks like that puzzle piece is kind of punched, and then just the fabric is drawn down with a needle, what looks like a French knot or, just a very simple knot, brought back up, because it seems to be knotted in place. It looks like bamboo, doesn't it? And then the turquoise piece that's kind of in the middle looks like it's punched again, but that looks like it's punched on the working side. So it's entirely possible that Christina is shaping these out and then filling them in with many different techniques. Because once you shape out, and I know your eye is following them too, look at the red ring. That's definitely stitches, without question, right? But the perimeter is punched. Once you do your punching, right, and assuming that you are not using the working side as the finished size for the most part. Yeah, I see paint in the background. That's very clever. She is able to outline on the working side, meaning the wrong side, with the punch, and then she's flipping it over and she's filling it in with punch that she intends to be left on the working side, right? So she's punching on both sides, and a bunch of different sewing techniques. Judy says, look at the pink area in the center top. Let me look at that. Look at the pink area in the center top. Is it this area here or this area? Let me see. The grain is going in the opposite of the pink curve. The grain is going in the opposite of the pink curve. Wait a minute, let me read it first. in the upper left perhaps is an applique in lieu of painted. I see what you mean. Okay, so the pink, the upper left, yes. Under, yes, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. That does look like fabric. You're right. You're right. Good, good catch. So northwest, I think this is what you mean, Judy. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, under that kind of wild patch punched of the russet color, where there's a kind of tan color, and there's gold. Let me make it just as large as possible. There's gold stitches. That does definitely look to be, I'm going to center it right here, a different material. You're right, it's a different fabric than what we're seeing on the back, so that would certainly be applied. It looks like the brown one next to it also is applied. It could be that it's not painted. It could be that these are all applied. You're right, it's different. It's different. So these could be applied by just getting different materials, and this could be quilting fabric, right? Because it certainly looks like cotton. This could be done with double-sided interfacing, right? The two-sided interfacing. You just use a thin one, right? Because you don't need a thick one for a project like this. Iron your pieces in place, right? Be careful to leave lines in between to punch, because if you punch through the edges of pieces that you have applied, it's going to lift them, isn't it? So be sure to leave gaps and just be punching the gaps, right? So technically this is becoming a much harder piece than I thought. There's a lot of wait a minute, I'm trying to grab it again. There's a lot of technique here. Good catch, Judy. That was really smart. Yeah, there's a lot of technique. I'm going to just look at it scrolling. What a lot of fun. It is a very modern sampler, isn't it? I mean, it could definitely, and I like the metallic threads as well. I love the very pure white thread on the orange. Yeah, these are different materials. Absolutely great catch. It has a bit of a 70s feel only because I'm thinking about Elsa Williams and Erica Wilson, some of my idols, because of the crewel stitches, right? Meaning long stitches, right? There's lots of different types of stitches here, needlepoint stitches. Wow. And it has a bit of a feel over for me on the right here of macrame. That's not macrame, but just the distances, right? And the sort of netted feel of the orange threads in this piece. So beautiful. Beautiful satin stitch, right, inside the black, that kind of cherry red. What a gorgeous piece. It is absolutely a sampler of techniques. This is a lot of fun. This is a lot of fun. I'll make it small one more time and then we'll move on. You know, I'm looking at that yellow and it doesn't look applied. It looks like it's painted right on. I'm wondering if the backing fabric is a bit of a chameleon. Do you see what I mean? It does, when I'm looking at it close up, it did look like it's appliqued. Now I'm thinking it's painted or printed on. Interesting. Oh, hi, Cats Gallery. Sharon says, I find there's great variation in yarn descriptions. Oh my God, that is so true. I'm punching a Malabrigo yarn that's, yeah, that's a moving target, that company, that's classed as bulky with an Oxford fine. Yeah, they do a lot of, I love that brand. I'm sure I said it wrong. They do a lot of different weights and they do a lot of nubby stuff that won't go through any punch needle, but is beautiful to hook with. Yeah, there is, you know, even though all this language is standardized in the yarn world, right, because that's a much more shored up world than our rugging world, with our hooks and needles. That is not standard at all. That's a complete moving target. Every time I get something, it's different than I expected. Not going to start that again. But yeah, I mean, when you go into a yarn store, things can be classed. Sometimes I'm surprised at what's classed as a sock weight or a worsted weight, because I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, I'll take your word for it. But I mean, that for me, it doesn't look like that. So you have to be careful with that stuff. It is good to have one fine and one regular punch needle. So between those two, you should catch everything, and one very, fine hook and one like regular or coarse hook for hooking, or just a few crochet hooks, just to cover all your bases, because it is frustrating when you start a project and you're using different materials and it's not what you thought, right? That's super frustrating. I think this is that same Malabrigo brand, and this is a sock weight. This is one of the ones I'm taking to the Cape with me. It's all darks, but you can see there's a lot of light to it. I'm just thinking about Christina's piece again. I have a couple more thoughts before we leave this slide, because I know a lot of you are interested in doing, and I'm interested in this too, when I get a little more into needle, sorry, wait a minute. Uh-oh, doing bad stuff with the cursor. When I get more into needlepoint, a couple things I want to close this slide on. Um, that yarn I just showed you, right? Any thin sock weight worsted yarns. To do the needle part of this, can you picture how beautiful it would be to um, use some of these color changing yarns as well in a composition like this? So that's one of my thoughts. Holy molies, right? Oh, they make singles. I didn't know that. Because all we really need in what we do is a single, right? Because a single is still going to be probably 120 yards. And unless you're doing something large with it. And lately I've been punching with the singles because I get a lot of the hedgehog singles. The hedgehog is one of my favorites and they are one of the most expensive. But I love their stuff, and thank God they do singles because I don't have like 40 something a skein, and their mohair is even more than that. It's like closer to 50. So it's like, whoa! But a lot of fun. And do you check Ravelry? Do you all check Ravelry, the site Ravelry? Under Ravelry, if you're going to get into hooking or punching with yarn or doing needlepoint on your surfaces, Ravelry, RAVELRY.com is a knitting crochet site, but they do have a page where sellers or members of the site can sell their stuff. And it'll say whether it's a whole skein, like maybe they bought an extra skein by accident because they were erring on the cautious side, or there's this many yards left over. I've only used a little of this skein and I'm selling it for 5. You know, sometimes you can grab a skein that you're looking for that color and it's not in the shop anymore. Matching dyeing batches is almost impossible. But if it's a brand that you love and somebody's got it, that's exciting to get it for like $10, $15. That's a great play. And sellers ship, and I have used them a lot. And I have never had an issue ever with anybody not shipping. Because it goes on reviews and stuff too. Like you can complain and report if anything bad happened. I've never had an issue, and I have bought probably 100 plus skeins for my hoarding purposes, right, that are just coming to light now. My yarn store has seasonal sales, bought a bunch of skeins for half price. That makes me crazy because I never see sales in any of these stores, ever. That's kind of exciting though, isn't it? But I do have webs, so I can't complain. I do have webs. Think about using different kinds of yarns with projects like this. Think about doing something, whether it's abstract or not, that combines both a little bit of simple needlepoint and either hooking or punching or both, right? Depending on your backing. If you're going to do that, then if you're going to include hooking, you need to use one of the hooking backings because you're not going to be able to hook through a tight woven, right? So you got to think about backings when you make a choice. Think about painting onto a backing, right? And considering that part of your composition. If you are a silk screener, you've ever done any silk screen, you could make a series, right? You can make a series and sell them on Madcap Monday. Patterns for people to complete, right? I bet other people would love to have something screened that's beautiful like this that they could complete as a sampler any way that they wanted to. Noro yarn is also amazing. Talk about colorful, right? It's like super, lots of colors in every skein and really crazy colors too. Really beautiful. A little bit nubby, but should be able to punch in a regular for the most part. Certainly easy to hook with and fast, the Nora yarns. They have a lot of magazine stuff and books too that are really fun for inspiration. Last thought on this slide before we move on is, do you have a souvenir tea towel or something like that? That has a great mid-century graphic or something. Maybe you have a tea towel that has a little bit of damage that you got on your trip to Ireland 30 years ago, that kind of thing. And maybe if you could just patch the part that, if you have a little hole in it or something, with interfacing, right? And then you just stitch over it with a satin stitch, and you do something like this with the rest of it. What if it is a Charlie Harper kind of a dish towel or something like that? Some cool collectible, right? Whether it's damaged or not, maybe it's got stains, and maybe you can hook or punch right over the stage, punch the pattern, right? I mean, you can't obviously be reproducing them and selling them, but if you already have a tea towel, why shouldn't you do something cool with the background pattern? If you see one at a flea market that you like, do a combo of punching and needlework on it if it's not in perfect condition, but you love the design. Why shouldn't you do that, right? That would be really, really, really a cool project. Judy says, how do you decide what projects to take with you on holiday? Plus, remember to pack your needle threader. Judy, I'm so glad that you said that. I am so glad that you said that. That is I am not kidding. I was sitting in the other room. I got my bag out. I put my Philadelphia frame in, or yeah, Philadelphia frame, the blue one that folds to be this big, because I thought, do not forget the frame. Do not forget the frame. And I was thinking, there's one more thing. That's what it was. And I could not remember. God, thank you. Thank you. Now I hope I remember when I leave the show, right? That's the next thing I've got to do is get that threader in, because without the threader, you know what happens without the threader. Looking around to see if I have a threader around. No, these are just, I've got so many pretty punches, it's crazy. Oh my God, there's a threader. I'm taking it out right now. Judy, thank you so much. Look at that. This is what the stupid threader looks like. It's got a tag on the back. This one's got a cat and it says, Perfect Punch. Oh, I don't know what Perfect Punch is. It looks like this, right? Have you seen this brand? Perfect Punch. It's not going to come into focus, but it's got a little kitty like this. Cute. And it's this size. So it's not like a sewing needle one. It goes right through the punch needle because it's this length, right? It goes right through the whole thing. Oh my God, thank you. I'm just going to bring this whole bag with me because I don't need to play anymore with stupidness, right? That was a real heartbreak. Thank you. I'm going to put it right in my bag because I know I will forget. I'm excited about this conversation, though. I'm very excited. I think I might, for a video while I'm at flea markets, look for like some kind of hand towel-y thing that I can just pop onto a frame or into a hoop and see if it's something that I really like, because I often see graphics. You know how sometimes you see a towel that says a year, like a little dish towel or souvenir thing? I like seeing the ones that say 1972 because that's the year that I was born. And if it was a pretty design, I could really see myself punching that or doing some stitches with it, turning it into a little sampler and popping it into a frame, right? Maybe not if it had like, I don't know, dishes on it, but I don't know. If it had like little tea kettles or something, something to think about. It's something to think about, right? Sorry. This is what happens on these shows, isn't it? This is why I never get through material. Another idea, if this backing of Christina's is painted, right? Another idea, you remember those foam stamps and decorator stamps to use after stencils were popular, like for your house? They're often like, they're foam, and Joann's and Michael's sells them, or woodblock ones, or make your own woodblock, or if you have wood blocks, because you used to do that for printing Christmas cards or something. What about putting a little bit of paint on those, a little bit, because you don't want to cover the surface so much that you can't punch or sew through it because it's so hard, right? Just a very light coating, right? Maybe even like a bluing, like inky, more inky than paint. Hit that and do a design right on your dish. I'm not going to keep saying dishcloth, Dave. I'm going to say backing. You could do any kind of design, even if you're not an artist, right? And then you could work on sewing it and punch. I better stop. This is never going to end. I could sit here for another 2 hours and talk about things you could do. This sampler was a great conversation piece. That is outrageously great. Okay, Alexandra Pauley, beautiful piece. Another piece that turned up on our Facebook group, Rug Cooking and Punch Needle Club. She said, feeling pretty done with Mrs. Cardinal. And she's thinking about tweaking as she carries on with it. And I haven't seen another post since, but I think this is just a beautiful example, right? Because you can see, I don't know if this is a commercial pattern, but you can see she's using a book for reference that has cardinals in it. You see on the bottom of the page, she's checking the colors to get the colors right. She's trying to be very literal. I'm reading your comments too. And Judy, I don't know how I choose what to bring on vacation. I have to work on writing the book that is late. So I know I'm bringing that, and then that the pattern that I made called Tisket Tasket that I'm bringing of the flowers in the gathering basket is just pulling at my heart. And one of the other things, I am going to get back to it, I swear, is because I'm bringing my mini punch stuff too and a bunch of threads, I'm going to challenge myself just right on the weaver's cloth to just do some drawing, like maybe draw on a little index card and go, I think I got it. Maybe even you can see through the index card, right, with the weaver's cloth. I'm just going to bring a bunch of weaver's cloth and my Sharpie, and I have a sulky transfer pen, that does the iron, because I know there's an iron at the cabin. I could always go to Staples or something like that. There's one in Hyannis, and have them print me out something, or I could draw something, trace it if it's perfect, iron transfer it onto my weaver's cloth. I'm going to challenge myself to do some stuff that's less persnickety, because I'm persnickety. So I'd like to do stuff that's a little bit looser and yeah, and maybe do some projects that I haven't even thought of yet, because I haven't done that for years, and that could be fun. So for Patreon members who are supporting me, be looking for a lot of crazy talk. I'm sure I'll be writing more than I ever have while I'm away, and I'm giving out a challenge right away as soon as I get there. And I bet I'll be on with a bunch of other things as they hit me. So be looking for those emails, because I have a lot of ideas and I want to brainstorm quite a few things with you. So, and always a huge thank you. So yeah, Alexandra Pauly is working on Mrs. Cardinal, and I'm anxious to see how this is going to turn out. It is absolutely beautiful. I think the colors are so soft and romantic. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And I think you all saw, I hope you all saw Ryan, the other Ryan, Ryan Richards, was working on the Baldishop Tapestry. And this is one of his vintage patterns, right? He loves the rug crafters vintage patterns. It's his collection, right? It's his passion, it's his collection. This is one of those, I believe, right? I know it's a vintage pattern, but it is absolutely remarkable. And we were all holding our breath while he was working on this. It's just a beautiful piece. And I'm gonna show you, because there was a request for the Baldishop Tapestry of me in ribbon candy hooking, and obviously this is a copyright-free image because it's from somewhere between 1040 and 1190, right? Squarely in the copyright-free era. It's one of the oldest known surviving tapestries in Norway, and it's among the oldest known in all of Europe. So it's believed that it was produced in Norway, but these things can't possibly be known for sure, right? And it's actually at the museum in Oslo. But it's a very famous tapestry. And when I got the request, I had thought on it for a couple of days, because I thought it's going to take a lot to draw this and to get this ready. But I did. And I put it up in the ribbon candy shop, and 4 or 5 people have bought it. A few as a kit and one not as a kit. And I think it's great also to try different colors in it, right? Because it's real specific. But it is really beautiful. And this is his finished. Oh, no, that's the drawing, right? This is his finished. Shoot, I didn't put a picture of the front of it. I'm going to have to get that for the next episode. This is the drawing of it. And it's fussy, but you can see it's not impossible. It's not impossible. It is fussy for sure. But it's a lot of fun, and I've been kitting it with yarn, and pretty much the same colors of yarn, a little more variety, so a few more colors. Like I think I've got 2 or 3 greens, 5 blues, 3 rusts, a couple of light whites, just for variety, just to get a little more definition. Because if you can see, there are quite a few birds in it. I think there are 4 birds in it that are sideways, if you can see them better in the drawing. And I just wanted to make it possible with my version of the pattern, with this drawing. You can see on the left there's 4 birds. I wanted to make it possible for people who wanted to be able to pick the birds out with a little more detail, if you want to, right? You could have flamingo pink birds if you wanted to. You can go in any direction you want. But it is a beautiful, important, famous textile. So kind of exciting. I just actually shipped 2 this morning. Incredible, right? Okay, so I do have it front way around. This is the front of Ryan's Baldishop. And you can see there is kind of localized outlining. And that's helping a lot with the popping. It's not everywhere. If you look over to the left at the birds, the sideways birds, it's here and there, right? But it is an old piece that has obviously a lot of fade, right? I mean, crazy, crazy old piece. But I love the variety in the background, right? I love the little checkery stuff. It's just a cool piece, right? And you can picture it looking a bit faded, and it's just, I think, a fun idea to give it new life again with a modern interpretation. It's not particularly modern, but your interpretation might be modern, right? And where you go with the facial expression, because the man on the right, in the actual tapestry, his lip is more turned down, right? So everybody who translates this as a drawing is going to end up with something slightly different. But it is an extraordinary piece. And of course, Ryan, okay, so this is it drawn on one of the backings. It looks overwhelming, but it is, I think, going to be a lot of fun. Right, so I think this is the first kit that went out. Curious to see how it's going to go. It's not going to be a fast piece. It is possible to punch this piece for sure because it is large. Yeah, to be continued. And then after that, Ryan, I was not surprised that you went for this next. I mean, you have to, like the zebras, right? The pendulum has to swing, and it can't be all overwhelming, epic scale. You got to breathe sometimes. This is such a great pattern. I have seen this on eBay. I just love this for this time of year. For Ryan, this is like something he could do in an afternoon. He's so good and he's so fast. Another punched piece, and it is just, I think I have one more photo of it. So cheerful for this season, isn't it? There it is finished. Absolutely beautiful. I just love this piece. I just love it. The light and the color is great on it too. You can tell the sun is shining on this sandcastle. It's so seasonal. Such a lot of fun. Another beautiful piece, Ryan. It's amazing how fast he works, isn't it? Wendy, you sent some unbelievable content. Really unbelievable. I'm going to run over a little bit. Okay, so Wendy said, okay, wait a minute. Let me get this right. Okay, wait a minute. I screwed up. Nope, I got it. Wendy said, I used a wooden block set from childhood to decide how to design log cabin squares in 2 recent rugs. Right, so I'm setting this up here. So these are the blocks that Wendy used from childhood. Because this is exactly how log cabin works, right? And you can do light and dark or shadows and sun. You can do all different kinds of patterns with log cabin. But this is a great, fun tool to be able to, it's probably lead paint though. Don't be licking your fingers, right? To be able to plan a log cabin piece. She said, I was inspired by Gail Dufresne of Goat Hill Designs. I was inspired by Gail's many variations of this old age quilter's pattern. Well, I don't think I've seen those yet. Gail's another person I need to reconnect with because we said we were going to get together soon. We still have to do that. This is a good exercise to use up leftovers and learn about values. Absolutely. That's a great point, Wendy. Also fun to do with paper. And yeah, you sent some amazing pictures that demonstrate that as well. So this is one of the log cabins, right? So this is like a light and shadow or sun and shadow, right? Very Amish names for doing half of a log cabin in darkness and the other half in the lighter colors. You can see how using those blocks was a brilliant idea to get from point A to point B. Absolutely brilliant. Gorgeous, gorgeous piece. It's a very pretty luminous yarn you've got too that you whipped with. That's very shiny and lovely. Very pearly finish to it, isn't it? Gorgeous piece. But wait, right? So this looks a lot like the blocks, right? The playing blocks. It's just extraordinary, isn't it? I love the log cabin as well, right? And I quilted for years and years, and I will quilt again when there's time in the future. I just love these traditional patterns. This is just extraordinary. And like Wendy was saying, she was playing with the blocks to come up with these patterns, but she was also experimenting. Great idea, right, April? With paper, right? I mean, it used to be years ago. Don't you remember at school and stuff, bringing in magazines to cut up to do stuff with paper collage? We hardly ever see that anymore. They never say send in some magazines for the kids to cut up. That just doesn't happen anymore. I know, Kirsten, the colors are amazing, right? Totally over the top. Absolutely. It's crazy. Just catching up on the comments there. But yeah, planning out with magazine pages is a great idea to give you a color focus. So Wendy's showing her sketchbooks here with glued down, probably just with a glue stick, right? Super simple project to work out colors. Really, also art, right? Art in and of itself. I mean, this is absolutely something that I would frame. I just love this. I just love this. But I think this is super clever, right? Because you can color plan with anything. You can color plan it on the computer like Kirsten does, or you can color plan with watercolors or colored pencils. You can color plan with collage. I mean, this is its own piece of folk art. Wendy, this is such, I wrote and said, this is just two beautiful pieces and two beautiful paper pieces. But what great content getting us to look at something in a different way, right? Giving us three great ideas, the finished pieces, the paper pieces, and the blocks. Three great ideas in one email. I really appreciate it. Absolutely stellar. Robin, I pulled this because you posted this a while ago, and I'm some kind of an idiot for missing it. I don't know how I missed it. You posted this back in March, and you said, I just finished this for my nephew's identical twin daughter's first birthday. So, twin daughter's first birthday. I used their actual handprints to preserve this moment in time. They use the color purple for prana. I think, is that pronounced Prajna, prana, and or prana, and green for emerald. I saw a free quilt pattern with X's and O's and I adapted it. I think this is so brilliant. I love the washed kind of watercolor, very soft baby feel of the background too. And I think it's brilliant to use the actual handprints. I love that you use the right colors, right? The right colors for the right child. And just the background wash, using the white this way is so soft, so calm. Yet, April, it's an amazing keepsake. That it's the ultimate keepsake. I just thought this was extraordinary. And it's so playful too, having the tic-tac-toe motif about it. It's just such a playful piece. I don't know what I was doing in March, but I must have just had that lobotomy and I missed this. So I'm so sorry about that, Robin. I would have commented on it immediately because it's so unusual and it's so gorgeous. It's just a total hit out of the park. Love it. And, oh, Juliet, wait a minute. Julia, I wanted to pull some more, and we are going to look at these more, but I pulled this photo off because you posted it the day that I started the gallery thing. I guess it was Friday. And I thought this was so cute. Whisker pose check, right? Checking it against the cat, right? This is the mid-century modern cat. So this is Juliet Page making this for... this is one of the Design Likes after the Design Like class, but I'm certainly going to be using this in the Design Like book for the Mid-Century Modern chapter. This is Juliet's own design. This is out of the park. So I know you saw her working on this, and the piece itself is in shadow a little bit, but I know if you're on the Facebook group, you've been watching the progress of this, and it is outrageously great. It is museum fantastic. And incidentally, the Friday that I come back, Juliet's going to be here, and we're going to be in Hartford together looking at the show one more time and then taking it down together. And I will put all of the Van Goghs in one place, and I will put all of the other pieces in another place. Some of you sent me labels to send them back. We'll figure all of that out when I get back, but I will be able to see Juliet in person the Friday that I get back, which will be a lot of fun. And the post said, whisker pose check. Tama is earning her keep as a kitty model. They're just basted in for positioning. We'll stitch them in properly next. So the piece does have these long whiskers because all these mid-century modern cats, Tama is absolutely precious. Let me make the cat a little bit bigger in the hooking too. And Juliet hooks with yarn. Much of the yarn that she dyes, that she spins, lots of different choices. And she's shown us a lot of pictures on her Chetty Camp floor frame, right, of all of the yarns laid out to make good decisions, as you go along kind of a thing. Tama, look at that sweet, sweet, sweet face. What a beautiful baby. I loved this too. I thought this was a lot of fun. This is Joan Duquette's. It's a series of 4 coasters, right? And I thought this is so much fun because somebody had just, in a related post when this came out, Paige McIntosh Garnto made another post around the same time that Jane caught. Thank you, Jane, for the content for this, by the way. Thank you always for everything. But you did a great job with this episode. Paige wrote in our Facebook group, which again is Rug Hooking and Punch Needle Club, y'all, I am so confused. I read so much on the internet about what yarns to use for coasters. I want durable, able to hold the water when a cup sweats, and able to wash. So what do you think? So it was interesting because that post came up, and then this image of Joan's came up right around the same time. And these are done, this is done, I think, in wool, although it could be done in cotton. I don't remember if there was an answer to it, but I just thought the coaster connection was great. I would certainly be using monk's cloth that I'd already washed, and I would be trying to hook with cotton, just because if I was planning on putting them through the washer, I'm looking for materials that I know can wash, and I'm making sure that my materials are pre-washed, because I'm anticipating shrink. And if it's not all the same fiber, and it won't be, because the monk's cloth is one thing and the yarn is another, right? Even if it's all the same brand or whatever, make sure you're pre-washed, because it's going to handle differently. It's going to shrink differently. It's going to be a heartbreak. With something like this, if it's something that you can just surface clean, right? Because it's not going to get, hopefully nobody barfs on it, right? There's no pets or kids around to actually barf on them. If it's just water, maybe you don't need to, but if you do, and you want to, in the back of your mind, have the peace of mind of knowing that you can wash, make sure that you are using materials that are washable and pre-washed, so that you have already you already know what the shrink is. It's a measured thing, and you're not going to be horribly surprised, right? I thought that was an adorable post, and then a little bit of a, oh, wait a minute, that one slipped, texture post, showing them in action. And it's just nice when things kind of tie up. You see the edge of them too, is either a little bit of yarn right around the edge, or it could be the bottom of, it could be that the bottom is printed with a diagonal. I think it's yarn. Absolutely beautiful. It was a beautiful gallery night. It lasted us 3 episodes because there's so much content. Oh, just got dizzy. And it's great. It's great content, right? So keep the gallery stuff coming in between, even while I'm away. Probably, I think the first week I get back, we'll probably do gallery night that first week. So be sending your stuff along. Send it. Jane will pull it and put it in Jane's folder so that we're all ready for gallery night. I hope that I will see you in a few hours for Design Like the Fairy Tale Storybook Volume 2, The Magic Kettle, The Nightingale, The 3 Bears, Colony of Cats, and Bremen Minstrels. 5 great fairy tales that are so much fun. You are going to be filled with designs after this class, and hopefully giving me some content for the Design Like book that will then be in Sauter Village next week, right? Thinking about all of the eventualities here. Everything is in place. So hopefully I will see you later on this afternoon. Otherwise, remember that I am on the trip until June. I left my phone in the other room. I think it's June. Well, it's the second week of June I come back. And I will let you know. And I'll be posting in Facebook, and I'll be doing pop-up stuff. So make sure that you're subscribed. If you are friends with me on Facebook personally, which you are very welcome to be, you're going to see our family photos as we go, finding stuff and treasures. And I am not in the Bermuda Triangle. I am only on Cape Cod, so my favorite place in the world. So yeah, I'll be having a little bit of a break, but I will be in touch, and you can always reach me at ribboncandyhooking@gmail.com. The Tuesday Hook-ins with Kirsten will continue, so be looking for information on those. Be in touch with Kirsten Gay. Those will be happening. That is on schedule, and all of the content I can bring you with limited Wi-Fi, I will bring you. But I won't be a complete phantom. I will be in touch, and thank you so much. We should have a great time. We will be there already this time tomorrow. So hopefully I see you later in the afternoon, and otherwise I will see you soon. Have a great couple of weeks, everybody. That feels awful to say that.